Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast where I bring you the best and the brightest from the world of business, marketing, and personal growth to help you harness your inner tenacity and drive your career forward. Folks, my guest today on the podcast is a true legend, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. And he is the only two-time Thinkers 50 number one leadership thinker in the world, been recognized as the number one executive coach in the world for over a decade, number one New York Times bestselling author that books that have sold over 3 million copies. And you can check them all out anywhere where books are sold. What you got here won't get you here. One of my favorite expressions, MOJO, Triggers in the Earn Life, and many more. And he's the only living author that has 2 books recognized by Amazon.com as the best leader and success book of all time. He's over 1.5 million followers on LinkedIn. So many more. I'm thrilled to have him. Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
I love it. Whenever I do my show, I kind of have a uniform. I like to wear my black T-shirt, kind of taking this Steve Jobs approach there. I always see you in the green. Is green your color, man?
Yeah, what happened with that is the New Yorker magazine wrote the story of my life. And the author is named Larissa McCorkor. It's a wonderful story, by the way. And it's called The Better Boss. In the story, she said I always wear a green polo shirt. Well, I actually didn't always wear a green polo shirt, but she said I did. You know what? I thought, fine with me. People then started expecting me to wear a green polo shirt. So, hey, I don't want to dress up anyway.
No.
And it's one less decision for me to make. So it's funny, though. People have these weird interpretations of why I wear a green polo shirt, like green means this or that or some esoteric stuff. No, it's
not that deep.
It's nothing that deep, much more random.
Well, I also think it's a nice contrast also with the screen here, the green and the red. I mean, it's a little bit of a holiday spirit here, but they kind of work together. Listen, that's I said before, I wear the black shirt because it's easy and I don't have to think about it when I come on the show. I also like the contrast of it on camera. Anyway, so you've done zillions of media interviews. You've done so many of them. But what I said to you earlier is I like to know the origin story, where people come from. People could look up your career. They could see the trajectory. They could see the history. But if you don't mind me asking, sir, what did your parents do for a living?
Well, I'm from a small town called Valley Station, Kentucky. My father had a little 2-pump gas station, and my mother went to college for 2 years and was a first grade school teacher. But my father had some idiot idea women shouldn't work. So the bad news is we got to be exceptionally poor. The good news is all of my mother's school teacher energy was devoted to one student. It was me. So I knew how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide before I went to school. So, yeah, you can imagine my high school got ranked next to last place in Kentucky in academic achievement. My elementary school, we had an outhouse the first 4 years. So I was not brought up in Harvard prep. So I go to school and teacher goes, 1 + 1 is 2. I'm going, okay.
I got that.
I'm the only one that knew it. I thought the first day of school, I went home and told my mother, I'm the smartest person that ever lived.
It's so interesting you mentioned that. Your dad had a 2-pump gas station. And I always say, Marshall, that the small business owners are the original entrepreneurs of this country. And it's kind of synonymous, small business entrepreneur. Did you see your dad as that? Did you see him as a business owner?
Oh, I learned a lot because my dad had a 2-pump gas station. I learned a lot. It's shocking how sometimes people with MBAs from Harvard don't know anything about business. I mean, you take in money, you pay out money, you keep what's left.
Not that complicated.
You got a little gas station, you learn, you take in money, you have customers, you learn about life. So I thought it was a very valuable experience because, again, I am surprised how many people with high degrees of education don't understand business 101.
What would you say is that key lesson in business 101 that's not being taught? Is it the human angle, the customer service?
I think basically it's just people have, the old joke about the dog food. And to me,
enlighten us.
It captures a lot of what's not being taught. So the CEO gets up and says, we've got McKinsey to do this brilliant research study, the top guys in the world in strategy. We had the best advertising campaign. We've won awards in human resources. We got great employee engagement. We're not making any money. I just can't figure out what's going wrong. Guy in the back raises, they make dog food. Guy in the back raises his hand and says, my dog won't eat that stuff.
I mean, it's not rocket science, right?
Dog got to eat the dog food.
Did you Did you learn lessons from your dad in that human approach and in customer service? I mean, there had to be a reason people kept coming back to your dad's gas station. One, I assume scarcity too, that there was not too many gas stations in that town. But
Right.
why they would come back to him and the folks that work there?
Well, my dad was a phenomenally nice person. So he was very nice, very generous person. So he had very good people skills. So one reason people came there is just liked him.
Hmm.
He's a very likable, friendly, nice man, and very honest, very straightforward guy. So yeah, basically good values, I'd say, very good values.
I appreciate you sharing that insight. And what was it like to be, I assume, the first in your family to go on to higher education and, you
Yeah.
know, and move
Well,
out and into the cities?
my mother went to college for 2 years,
Hmm.
but I'm the first one to graduate from college.
And was that something that you took a lot of pride in and your family did too?
I was kind of hammered into my head that I was going to do this when I was a little kid. And I was told I was smart about 20,000 times, so I kind of believed it. So I sort of assumed I would graduate from college. And then I wasn't really a good student. I had an attitude problem in undergraduate school. I made 5 Ds, almost got thrown out, barely graduated. But last year I went back and gave the commencement speech, and I got an honorary PhD. And you know what I said the first thing? Let's hear it for the bottom of the class. Yay. You
It's so
never
fun.
know.
Well, that's interesting too. What's your take on the value these days, the ROI of a higher education with so much knowledge? I mean, listen, you're one of the kings of it that shares information out there. What it was, even for me when I graduated, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I graduated almost 25 years
Yeah.
ago, but like the value of a college education then versus now. And are these kids that are coming out, are they setting themselves up for failure when it comes to debt and maybe a knowledge gap from not going right into the workforce?
It's a very, very good question. My daughter's a professor at Vanderbilt here, so she's a full professor at Vanderbilt. We discuss this a lot. I would say, I would say it's not bad. Let me tell you what, it's some good things about getting a college education. One is, what are you going to do anyway at that age?
Hmm.
Two is, you're probably going to learn something, right? And it's kind of a good socialization experience. And the nice thing about education is you only have to do it once. So, I have a PhD from UCLA, but I don't have to do it again. So, you do it once, you got it the rest of your life. So I'm kind of pro education, although I'm not naive. What I tell people that go to school is look, uh, never assume there's a high correlation between wisdom and getting degrees. There are very smart people that have no degrees, and there are very stupid people that have PhDs. So, I would never assume there's some correlation between wisdom and getting a degree. You get a degree because the credential is going to help you, and you want to get a degree, but you learn to learn. They're not the same thing.
Well, but what about the debt? I mean, the astronomical costs, and even if you're going to a state school these days, the cost versus the ROI when you come out of school with all this
You
debt
know,
versus.
I would say that's a good question. I'm probably not the best expert to answer it, though.
Okay,
Other people have studied this a lot more than I have.
that's a fair take. So I want to get into your expertise, which is
Right.
coaching. Tell us about the first client you had, the first person that came to you for you to coach. What was that like?
Well, I'll describe how I got into leadership development first, and that leads into coaching. So I was a college, I graduated from UCLA. I got a PhD. I was a first level college professor, and I met this man named Dr. Paul Hersey. Now, he and Ken Blanchard invented something called situational leadership. So he's kind enough to let me sit in his program, which is very expensive. I look at this guy and say, man, this guy's fantastic. I want to be him when I grow up. Well, I said, look, I'll sit in the back. I'll carry coffee. I just sat in the back of the room and served coffee and moved tables around. But I want to learn this stuff. One day he got double booked.
Mm.
He said, can you do what I do? I said, I don't know. He said, I'll pay $1,000 for a day. I was making $15,000 a year.
Jeez.
I'm pumping gas in Valley Station, Kentucky. He's paying me $1,000 a day. By the way, $1,000 a day when I was 28 years old, 47 years ago, was a lot of money for a poor boy.
That's a lot of money.
You know what I said? Sign me up, coach. I do a program for the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. They are pissed off when I show up because I'm not him. But I got ranked first place with all the speakers. They love me. He said, send this kid again. That's how I got into business. Then I got into coaching. I didn't start at the bottom. I mean, my first clients were IBM, McKinsey, Warner Lambert.
Get a head start.
Can't sit there. When I got into this business, I started at the top. So, because he knew everybody. So I worked with him. Having by the way, one advice for everybody, get a mentor. So he really helped me. So what happened is then I'm working with Warner Lambert. I'm working with the CEO. He said, I got this kid working for us, young, smart, dedicated, hardworking, driven to achieve, arrogant, stubborn jerk. He said it would be worth a fortune to me if you could help that kid change his behavior. I said, I like fortunes. Maybe I could help him. He said, I doubt it. I said, look, I'll work with the guy for a year. If he gets better, pay me. Don't get better, it's free. You know what he said? Sold. There was nothing called coaching. I just made this up. There was no field of executive coaching. So I just made it up.
So what was it? Mentorship? Is it paid mentorship?
Look, the guy got better. Look, let's be honest. The guy got better and I get paid. I didn't really care what you called it.
I say that all the time. You're paying me for my. So that's an interesting one. I want to double back to something you said about mentor. A lot of folks, they come to me, younger folks, older folks, even they said, Adam, how do I find a mentor? What is the best way for someone to research and reach out to someone and ask for their time?
Well, it's very interesting because to me, one of the smartest things I ever did in my life was to realize I want to be this guy when I grow up. This guy's good. I didn't pretend to be better than him. I said, I want to be like this guy. And after that, I had a chance to work with Peter Drucker, Alan Mulally. Some of my clients are my mentors. Alan Mulally was one of the best CEOs in the world. Francis Hesselbein. Well, I love learning from these kind of people. So to me, my advice to someone who wants to get a mentor is tell them, say, look, I like you. I want to be like you when I grow up. Get over your ego. Get over your ego. By the first advice, get over your ego. You want to get a mentor, get over your own ego. If you didn't think the mentor had something you didn't, why are you wasting time? Get over your ego. The smart thing I did was said, look, I'm not you. I want to be like you. And I'll do anything just to help me. David Chang. Do you know who David Chang is?
Great Mama chef. Foucault. Yeah.
Yeah, David Chang. He worked for John George for free for 6 months. I'm David Chang's coach too. David Chang worked with John George for free for 6 months. Why? Smart.
David, it's so funny you mentioned David Chang. I've had his former one of his former partners, Will Gadara, his wife Christina Tosi worked for David Chang. He will be on the show. I'm putting it out to the universe. I have some other connections to David. He will, and I love his series. Are you watching the Netflix the Cooking with the Live show?
Oh yeah, I love David. If you read his book, he wrote a book called Eat a Peach. I'm in his book. He has a whole part about me being his coach. It's hilarious.
Well, let me ask you this: what makes a good coachee a good client? Coachee is a word I just made up, I think.
Yeah, I just what's good about it is, well, the guy I coached that improved the most. I spent the least amount of time coaching. His name Alan Mulally was great to start with. So he was at Boeing and went to Ford, where he was the CEO of the year in the United States. The stock goes from 101 to 1840. When he left, the stock went up 1,837%. He was CEO of the year, and he had a 97% approval rating. This is mind-blowing from every employee in a union company. So I talked to Alan. I said, Alan, of all the people I coached, you improved the most and spent the least amount of time with you. I made a chart. On one dimension, time spent with me, and the other dimension was improvement. There was a negative relationship between spending time with me and getting better. I said, Alan, this is troubling. What did I learn about coaching from you? He said, you got one challenge as a coach. Work with great, dedicated people. You work with great, dedicated people. You're going to work hard, take this seriously. You look like a hero. You work with people who don't care. You look like an idiot. Don't make it about you and your ego. Make it about them. Yeah, I got ranked, as you mentioned, #1 coach in the world for years. Why? Nobody knows I'm a good coach. Nobody watches me coach anybody. I got the #1 clients in the world. You look at my book, The Earned Life, look who my clients are. 5 CEOs a year in the United States. Well, you know what? To be honest, anybody's going to look like a good coach if you work with them.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that too. And I think it comes down to reputation. I say it too when I look at my client base. It's also about having good clients. Not all clients are good clients. And it's not always about the paycheck either. Some of them aren't going to be good for your reputation. Some of them aren't going to be good. And that comes with wisdom and experience, right?
Oh, I don't get paid if my clients don't get better for 45 years. So you know what? I don't waste time with bad clients. No. Yeah. I will work with you if you do this and this and this and this. If they look like they don't care, you know what I say? Thank you for sharing. It's nice to know you. Bye-bye.
It's not worth anybody's time. And that comes with age and maturity and also ego. I mean, why do you see like when it comes to ego and leadership, how do you, what's one of the techniques or methods to help break listen, some ego, not all ego is bad. Ego is important.
Right,
Ego
right.
is drive. There's elements that, but we talk about the bad side of ego, the detrimental side of that. How do you work with clients to have that self-awareness epiphany to break through the ego barriers?
Well, what I do is very simple. I'm a pioneer of something called customized 360-degree feedback. So I interview every one of my clients, and I interview all their stakeholders, typically 18.
Mm-hmm.
I give them feedback about what everybody thinks of them. And I say, look, here's what they think you're doing great. Here's what they think you're screwing up. What do you want to change? Well, they have to then agree what they want to change. Now, let's say I'm coaching the CEO. If the CEO says, I want to change X, the board has to agree to it. If the future CEO says, I want to get better, the CEO has to agree to it.
Mm-hmm.
So then they get a sign off. Well, this is important. Then I say, okay, this behavior is important. These people are important. Now, every one of my clients then apologizes for their mistakes publicly. They all suck it up and apologize. David Chang apologized. Hubert Joly, they all do. And then they all ask for input. Hey, feed forward. I teach something called feed forward. Ask for ideas, listen and thank people. They listen to them, and then they learn from everyone around them. So I'm kind of a facilitator. I teach them some stuff, but most of what they learn from everybody around them. And I follow up with them over and over again. And then I did a study called Leadership as a Contact Sport. There's 86,000 people in the study. If you do this stuff, you get better.
It's repetition. It's muscle memory. I mean, I look back at my first podcast from 5.5 years ago to where I was now. I mean, it's like it's night and day as far as my style, my approach, my ability to improv, my ability to ask questions. And I think more importantly, the ability to listen and not think too far ahead to the next question, because that's where you find the gold. Active listening. I want to go back to something you mentioned, why asking number one, no, you mentioned that was brought up. Why asking questions will be the number one skill needed for leaders of the future.
Well, again, one of my great mentors, Peter Drucker, he was the founder of modern management. And he said the leader of the past knew how to tell, the leader of the future is going to know how to ask. Why? Today, almost all of us manage people called knowledge workers.
Mm-hmm.
They know more about what they're doing than you do. If you're managing knowledge workers, you can't tell them what to do and how to do it. Why? They know more than you. Now, if I know more than you, I legitimately can tell you what to do and how to do it. It's not that bad of an idea. On the other hand, when you know more than me, I can't tell you what to do and how to do it because you already know more than I do. I have to ask, listen, learn, be a facilitator, coordinate. I'm not some kind of little god. Well, that's the new world.
It is. It's a new world, and it seems like my 6-year-old knows everything. I think he knows more than me. It's pretty crazy to look at these little malleable minds and say, "Wow, he's asking questions. He's listening." It's absolutely fascinating. I want to get into this concept of knowledge philanthropy, and it took me a minute to. And I sat back and I really had to think about it, and that's how AI is allowing Marshall to donate the rest of his lifetime of expertise and knowledge with the world. So let's talk about Marshall Goldsmith AI. Tell us the origin of this project and how it kind of came together. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how you inputted, how the team kind of inputs the data into there.
Well, it began with my goal has always been to give away whatever I know to as many people as I can. And I mean, I mentioned all these people are nice to me. You know what? They never charged me money. They were nice to me. Paul Hersey never charged me money, and Alan Mulally, I was his coach, but he coached me more than I coached him. He didn't charge me money. And so I just try to give back. Why? I'm just kind of pay it forward here.
Always.
In honor of the people that helped me, I'm trying to help others. Well, I came up with this idea. I said I was going to adopt 15 people, teach them all they know for free. And the only price is I got old, they had to do the same thing, 15. I made a little video and put it on LinkedIn. I'm thinking 100 people would apply, and I'll adopt 15. I was wrong. 18,000 people applied.
I think you underestimated that one a little bit.
18,000
You're off by a little.
Yeah, I know. 18,000 applied. So I ended up adopting 100. Now we have 400 programs called 100 Coaches. Well, I also try to give away everything I could in the format of being able to ask questions. But it's a lot harder than you would think. I failed for 20 years in this endeavor.
How so?
Oh, we tried interactive video. We tried this branching stuff. It's hard.
Now we have the tech.
But now I love it. What now? So I've got my own computer bot. It's called Marshall Bot. Nice people named Fractal Analytics put it together. I teach the thing everything I know. I put 3 million words into this thing
I mean, you
already.
have so much content also. It's about input and ingesting and using MLM and ALM to analyze it and be able to decipher. And
Well, you know, I would tell you, this thing is mind blowing. To start with, it has far exceeded any expectation I had. My thought was it would be able to answer questions as well as me about 80% of the time. Oh, he can answer questions better than me all the time now and answer 100 times more questions. Let me give you an example. My daughter Kelly wants to trick this thing.
I was
And
going to
she
go there.
says, and she goes, well, how is your coaching connected to utilitarian philosophy? I don't even know what utilitarian philosophy is. It studies utilitarian philosophy. It studies my coaching. It says, oh, this is how the coaching is related. Then it knows me and it answers the question exactly like I would answer it in my voice
In your tone.
in 5 seconds.
It's unbelievable. But you've also created so much content out there where it has enough data points for your tone and to pull those points, but to answer it in a way that you would agree with. It's
Well,
fascinating.
this is a very important point. Every computer bot is biased. My computer bot is biased. They're all biased. If you ask a question, what is leadership? There are 100 possible answers. Well, as soon as it gives you an answer, it's biased. Why that answer as opposed to 99 others? Well, my computer bot is biased by me. I'm the bias.
Mm-hmm. We all have unconscious bias.
Yeah, I am the bias. These are answers I prove. Now, I'm not saying they're the best answers in the world. They're just my answers.
They are your answers. So I decided to do something fun. I use a lot of AI for my research. Why wouldn't I? Anything that could help me be better, faster, more efficient with quality control. So
Yeah.
I asked Marshall Goldsmith AI, quote, what questions would you ask Marshall himself on an interview? So I'm going to select a couple of these questions here.
Okay.
Here we go. What has been one of the most significant turning points in your career that led you to become an executive coach?
Well, first, I talked about already meeting Dr. Paul Hersey. That changed my life, put me in executive education. And then I think giving people feedback and actually measuring, do they get better? See, the reality is, to me, why have a coach at all if you're not going to get better? And how do you measure it? Well, I actually measured things. So that's kind of, and I, by the way, I didn't wake up one day and say I'm going to be an executive coach. There was nothing called executive coach.
No, it was your path.
This is an evolutionary process for me that has evolved over time.
All right. What are, according to questions that Marshall Bot would give me to ask Marshall himself?
Okay.
It's so meta. It's so meta right here. What are some common misconceptions about executive coaching that you would like to address?
One is that the key variable in executive coaching is the coach. And somehow, if the coach is good, smart, wonderful, clever, kind, good listener, that people are going to get better. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Nobody gets better because they have a coach. They have to work to get better. It's like anything else in life. They don't get better because they have a coach. This next time, learn, don't make it as a coach. Don't make it about you and your ego and how smart you think you are and how well trained you are and how sensitive you are. That doesn't mean anything. The key variable isn't you, it's them. It's their life as a coach. It's not your life. So I think one thing for coaches is don't get ego involved in this. It's not your life.
One thing that I learned about executive coaching, I've invested into executive coaching, is the price component as well there too, and having skin in the game.
Right.
And it's kind of getting value for it too. And listen, there's obviously a scale of dealing with a CEO who's high income, high earner. But I think for everybody out there, it's about accountability. That's what I learned through, like, it's skin in the game and it's accountability and wanting to be coached. Don't just feel like someone's forcing you to do it. You have to want to do it.
Yeah. If you don't want to do it, don't do it.
But how important is pricing?
Is pricing, Pricing?
Pricing
Yeah.
in your services as a coach?
I'm really far from a normal person to ask that question to. You got to realize, hiring me, you're either a nonprofit person, I do it for free, or you just pay me a ridiculous fortune. So,
I love it.
I mean, what I charge seems ridiculous even to me.
Right, but there's an ROI on that. I mean, look, you literally talked about the stock price. You had a client, you coach, and you could say there's a direct correlation to leadership, the board having faith. No?
I'm glad you brought this up. I would never claim that I coached a client and the stock price went up because of me. Never. The reality is the stock price is impacted by thousands of variables. I have a degree in math. That's just not true. On the other hand, I can say this person became a better leader as judged by everyone around them based on what I did. That I can say.
Right. So there's an ancillary, at the very least, there's an ancillary effect. Right. We're not looking to put a claim out there, but when you're making someone a better leader, there's more confidence and it could lead to better quality production.
Also, let's put this in perspective. Although I may say I'm charging a lot, relative to the multiple billions of dollars my clients are managing, what am I charging? Nothing.
Right.
I'm not a rounding off error.
Let's go to Marshall Bach question number 2. What are the most challenging aspects of coaching high achieving individuals and how do you navigate those challenges?
I think the most challenging first aspect is we've talked about discipline, follow up. They have to do the work. As a coach, get over your own ego. Let me give you the most challenging aspect, I think, for the clients. It's not that they're not good people. Look, anybody talks to me, I'm not an idiot. I can kind of sniff out if they're playing some dumb game with me in about 5 seconds, right? I'm not going to waste time with somebody who doesn't care. And, you're playing some little routine with me. I'm better at you, son, so go away. On the other hand, people are busy. And I think especially today, they're under so much pressure that you have to keep things as a coach positive, simple, focused, and fast. If you give people complicated stuff to do, they're not going to do it. And not because they're mean or evil or stupid or bad. They're busy. They got a million things. So you really, I think, need to keep all the advice I try to give is positive, simple, focused, fast, practical things they can take back and use that are pretty simple. Because if you make it too complex, they're not going to do it. And by the way, this is not less true than the past. It's more true than the past.
Time. We all have the same amount of time, but we have so many distractions. And I think it comes down to really actionable. I do a bit of career coaching and it comes down to actionable insights, actionable advice, giving someone, not just some theoretical, but here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to try. Let me know how that works out. So last question coming from Marshall Marshall Goldsmith AI. We call it Marshall Bot for short. What is the one piece of advice that you would give someone just starting in their journey as an executive coach to be successful? To the coach.
The first thing I would do is I'm going to give more than one. I'm going to cheat a little bit. First is learn as much as you can. 2, get a mentor. I help people all the time. I help all kinds of young coaches. And I try to be open-minded. By the way, if anybody's ever in Nashville, Tennessee, a young coach, they want a mentor, you call me up. I go for a walk every day. If I'm in town, we'll take a walk together. It's free.
Walk with Marshall.
Walk with me. Happy. I've done hundreds of people. I try to help as many young people as I can. Why so many people help me? Get a mentor. Get over your ego. Get a mentor. Study, learn, and then realize. And then the other thing, 2 things. Another thing for coaching. Let me tell you what coaches are terrible at. Good news, most coaches are very nice people, dedicated, hardworking, want to do well, good-hearted, all that. Bad news, they're terrible business people, just terrible business people. The average coach makes something like $35,000 or $40,000 a year from coaching. They make no money at all. The bag boys make more than the average coach. It's terrible. Well, they need to understand. In my book, There in Life, I talk about credibility must earn twice. Part of credibility is being good at what you do. The other part is being known for being good at what you do. The average coach can be wonderful at what they do, but if they don't have any knowledge, any brand recognition, why are they different than anybody else? They're not.
So they're not good marketers or self-promoters.
In fact, many of them have an aversion to self-promotion. And let me try how to coach people. Are you ready? Let's assume we have somebody listening right now that has an aversion to self-promotion and they need to get better. And I'm going to coach them. You pretend you're that person. Ready?
Right.
You be that person. Yeah, you don't have an aversion to self-promotion.
Well, I'm going to try to shut that motor off.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard for me.
We're going to pretend you do.
Okay.
All right. Now, I'd say, all right, Mr. Person who doesn't like self-promotion, very good. I'm going to give you some coaching. Question 1. If you became more powerful and influential, would the world be worse off or better off? Tell me the honest truth.
I mean, I don't know. I really don't put myself out there. I would hope it would be better off.
Better off. I believe you're right. I have talked to you. I think you're a good person. The world would be better off. Number two, does trying to become more powerful and influential sometimes make you feel uncomfortable? Uncomfortable.
It's not really my style, Marshall. I don't really like to put myself out there. I don't like to seem like I have a big ego. I don't want anyone to misinterpret me.
Oh, you feel uncomfortable. Oh. Now, Mr. Coach, what's more important to you? Making the world a better place or being comfortable?
I want to make the world a better place.
And guess what?
What
Get
do I need
over
to
it.
do to get there? Get
Get
over it.
over it. How about
Well,
that comfortable stuff? How
no,
about bragging about how modest you are?
yeah.
Yeah, get over it.
People need to know who you are. Otherwise, you have to be seen. I don't. This is not a question I intended to ask, but it kind of goes along with this AI because I've seen some other folks who are incredible thought leaders and content creators like yourself that have. How do you define legacy? Like when your time on this earth comes to an end, how do you want to be remembered?
Very simple. I'll give you a definition of legacy. You know what it is? Being there when you're not there.
My version is very similar. It's how I want to be remembered when I'm gone.
Well, mine's being there when you're not there.
Being there when you're not there. Marshall, what's keeping you up at night these days?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I sleep like
Sleeps
a baby.
like a baby. Sleeps like on a baby on a Scrooge McDuck pillow of money right there. Like, no.
I don't. Nothing keeps me up awake.
Well, let me ask you this: when we talk about AI, a lot of folks talk about going down that rabbit hole of the Terminator 2 scenario and everything. Are you scared of AI tech in any way?
Look, I'm 75 years old, and there are many things in life I'm not going to change. Can new technology be misused? Of course it can. Will it be misused? Of course it will. It always will. The internet was. Everything is. Social media is misused. Look, my job, I want to help as many people as I can. For me, I love this stuff.
Hmm.
Why? I love it because I am able to share what I know, in fact, better than what I know. They've already had this, my little AI bot's already had 82,000 questions asked to it already.
Wow.
I'm just getting started. I love it. So, and let's face it, forgetting about me being altruistic, on a more shallow basis, let's be honest, how cool is it? I'm 75 years old. I got my own personalized AI computer bot. Is that cool or what?
Not only is it cool, but I think this is going, and obviously it's going to be a trend of the future. Another way to immortalize yourself is think about these great thought leaders ingesting their knowledge, being able to ask questions and learn from a legacy perspective.
It's wonderful.
And I see more and more of this. So Marshall, let's bring this home here. And this is my masterclass. I've done almost 480 shows and live shows, recorded shows. I've been doing it for 5.5 years. This is my gift to my audience. And I've been also toying with the idea of also ingesting all my episodes into some kind of bot and then
Good.
questions or a book or whatever that comes from that.
Do
But
it.
but what is that single greatest piece of advice that you have received that you take action on daily?
All right. I'm going to give everyone listening to me the best coaching advice they're ever going to get. Are you ready? Breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Everyone listening, breathe. Slow down your 285-mile-an-hour brain. I want you to imagine you're 95 years old, you're getting ready to die. Right before you take that last breath, you're given a beautiful gift. The ability to go back in time and talk to the person listening to me right now. The ability to help that person be a better leader, and more important, a better life. What advice would that wise old person knows what mattered in life and what didn't? What really mattered and what didn't? What advice does that old person have for you? Whatever you're thinking now, do that. In terms of performance appraisal, that's the only one that's going to matter. That old person says you did the right thing, you did. That old person says you made a mistake, you did. You don't have to impress anybody else. Some friends of mine interviewed old folks who were dying, got to ask the question, what advice would you have? Number one, be happy now. Not next week, not next month, not next year. Be happy now. Great Western disease, I'll be happy when I get the money, status, BMW. I'm 75. I got a better grasp of when. When's old. Be happy now. Learning point 2, friends and family. Never get so busy climbing the ladder of success you forget the people who love you. And then number 3, if you got a dream, go for it. You don't go for it when you're 30, you won't when you're 80. business-wise so much different. Number one, life is short. Have fun. Now, let me tell you one thing I can tell you about you already. You like what you do. You're having fun. I can tell that. That's a good thing.
This is my art. It's fun.
It's fun. And then number two, do what you can do to help people. The main reason to help people has nothing to do with money or status or getting ahead. You know why? The old man will be proud of you because you did. Back to you. See, I think you're trying to help people here. And number three, this was your dream. Go for it. Now, the only coaching I have for you is at the end, you said, I may want to do this someday. Drop that stuff. You do it. Is that clear? Is that clear?
No, I take that one because one of my mantras, and I believe, is make shit happen straight up. And I think, and that's something I believe in. If there's no better time than the present, if you have an urge, an itch to scratch, just do it. And what's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work out. And then you won't have any regrets that, oh man, I wish I started that podcast 5 years ago. I wish that I did this. I don't want to have any. Listen, we all have regrets in life, but let's try to reduce them a little bit. No one's ever going to say I have no regrets in life. That's bullshit. I call bullshit on that. We all have regrets in life because we're human. What are you going to do?
Life is good.
Life is good. Let's make the best of it. And last but not least, I've been changing up my final question, my free bird, my encore question. And originally when I started the show, I was going much more the North Star and it was much more personal and everything. But lately, after talking to so many really successful people, I've become more interested in how they define success. Yep. So, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, how do you define success?
Okay. In order to be a success, I'm going to give you 6 variables. One, we've talked about money. All you need is enough money to have a lower middle class income, pay the bills. After that, money's not the key factor. You need some, but not for enough. 2, take care of your health. That's important. 3, great relationship with people you love. We talked about that. Assuming you have great relationship with people you love, you're healthy, and you got enough money, middle class money. What matters? 3 things. 1, you need a higher purpose in life. Why am I doing this? You got to have some reason why, right? People listening to you work hard. They put in lots of hours. Well, why? Number 2, then you have to have achievement that is connected to the higher purpose. So everybody tries to achieve something. Okay, great. How is that connected to what's important to you? And then finally, enjoy the process of life itself. Enjoy that process of life itself because, you can achieve all the things in the world and be miserable. Happiness and achievement are independent variables. Achieve to achieve and be happy to be happy. They're not the same thing. And so that's basically it. Look, if you're doing what you love doing, you're achieving something, you feel like you're helping people, you got a higher purpose, you won.
It's not always about the Benjamins. I mean, they help. I mean, when I talk to all these successful folks, they say money is a fuel to their options. It's not like they're doing backstrokes in the vault, right? It's fuel to their options, and it's time freedom so they could do those things that they love. Marshall, what's next for you? New book? You got Marshall Goldsmith AI. What's next?
Well, I'm always working on a new book. My new book is called Being Here While Getting There. That's my next book. Being Here While Getting There. And that one is going to be about being present in the moment, yet still focusing on the future at the same time. I just did a book with Ashish Advani called Modern Achievement. That book is for younger people. So, I've done 57 books. So I'm always cranking them out.
It's incredible that you continue to be such a wealth of inspiration, a wealth of content. I want to thank you so much for joining me, and more importantly, my audience thanks you. I want everyone to check out Marshall Goldsmith AI. You could check out all of his 872 books. Check out The Earn Life. My favorite title of any book ever is What Got You Here Won't Get You There, and that's something that I think everyone really needs to let that sink in. MOJO, triggers, you know where to find out more. Check out all things Marshall Goldsmith. Marshall, hang with me for one moment here. Anywhere else? Where Go to Nashville. Go for a walk with this guy.
Marshall at marshallgoldsmith.com. Send me an email. I'll send you stuff for free. Go to my website, Marshall Goldsmith. LinkedIn. I got 1.5 million followers. So go to LinkedIn, whatever. Finding me is not the greatest challenge in the world.
No, this guy's not a hard guy to find. But Marshall, I want to thank you for your time, your generosity. Hang with me one moment here as we sign off. And everyone listening, again, thank you for joining us. Time is our most valuable asset, and I want to thank you for spending the last 40 minutes with Marshall and myself. You know where to find out more at thepodcast.com, social media at NHP Talent. If this show meant something to you, sharing means caring. Leave a review rating. It goes a long way. Remember, be good to yourself, be better to others, and catch us next week for another great episode of the podcast. Take care, everybody.